Hey kids, good morning, afternoon, or evening. We are continuing our MCU-a-thon. We watched all the movies, including the Black Widows, and in the order they were released. And so we switched to the MTU, and we watched Wanda. We watched The Falcon and the Snowman. No.
Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier. And now we have completed Loki. 6 episodes. So I'm Frank Gaffney. Here is Amy Goldman, eating runny eggs. Joel Fenster, who brought up the twins today, and Mark Wotitzgartner, and Annie King, who spent the whole week at the beach and has a little tan. Mark, you want to tell us about your council there behind you?
So these are the timekeepers of
the timekeepers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And they may have made an appearance in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes. Clarence Clemens. And do we know who the other 2 people are?
No.
Who cares at this point?
All right, so I think we have to spoiler alert, because if you haven't watched Loki, we're gonna tell you stuff you maybe don't want to know. So it was nice seeing you. So Loki Part 4 is called The Nexus Event, and we do get a little bit of Lady Loki's backstory. Sorry, Sylvie. And then Loki gets put in this time loop from hell. Then
That was funny.
yeah, that was funny. And then they vaporize Owen Wilson because he's thinking now. And then we find out that the TVA is robots. Then Loki gets vaporized, and then maybe Owen Wilson is only comic book dead and not really dead. But I still feel like all of episode 3 could have been 10 minutes at the beginning of this one, and we would have had one less episode.
Great.
Okay, episode 5, Journey into Mystery, or some kind of purgatory, where the smoke monster from Lost got another job.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, I was just waiting for it was a
Right?
time
It
it
was
went
good
by.
to see that he got another job.
yes.
And it looks like every Loki variant is here. And then Lady Loki shows up. And the old comic book Loki, what's his name?
Richard Grant.
No, I mean, he's great. He's always great,
Yeah.
Richard Grant. He was great in this. But is that what he was called?
I don't think they called him anything specific other than
Classic
Classic.
Loki.
With these
Okay.
subtitles, they gave them all names.
Okay, and then he sacrifices himself to help our Loki and Lady Loki defeat the smoke monster by recreating Asgard. I don't know how that. I guess then they realize, hey, we can defeat him. Okay, there's another episode that didn't exactly need to be an hour. I mean, but there was some fun, obviously, for Richard E. Grant and the Lokis, which sounds like I just created a rock band. Richard E. Grant and the Lokis. And we're still waiting for clues to who's running the TVA. And we're like 1 episode left. And so the final episode is called For All Time Always, which is a bogus title because, again, comic books, nothing is for all time always. They just reinvent, change, bring people back from the dead, reboot. And the final episode, okay, we find the one man. Does he have a name?
He Who Remains.
He Who Remains. And he says that he stopped a multiverse war by creating the TVA to maintain peace. They give them the option. They can kill him, which would restart the war, or they can replace him and take over the TVA, and they can control the timeline. And Lady Loki calls bullshit. And Loki's like, hey, wait a minute. And then she banishes him. Oh, wait, first they have the most awkward kiss in Marvel history. Like, ooh, really? And kissing yourself, right? It's like this.
Exactly.
And so Loki goes back to TVA headquarters and she kills the timeline guy. And I like the actor, though, who played the one who remains. And so I looked him up, and his name is Jonathan Majors. And now I know why he looks familiar, because yes, Joel, This week we started watching Lovecraft Country.
You should actually watch the I think it's The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
I've seen that.
It's
I
a great
didn't know
movie.
that was him.
That's him. He's amazing in that. Yeah.
And so, because Lovecraft got 18 Emmy nominations, so I'm like, all right, maybe I should
Watch it.
Anyways, so our little Loki reforms and he's no more mischief. He's going to be a good guy. But the best part of the show, of course, was Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston in buddy cop mode. They were very fun together. I love that. And it seemed like those 2 episodes, which I'm complaining about, just existed so they could have more Easter eggs and references and all the nerds could love it. That's what it seemed like to me. But the ending, yes, horrible and great at the same time. That Loki finds Mobius and says that he killed the TVA guy, and Mobius is like, who are you? That was great. And then we see the statue of the guy from Lovecraft Country. Is this a real thing? Is he really someone?
Yes,
From
we'll
the
talk
comic
about that when
Okay.
we'll talk about that.
Is he going to be the Thanos of Phase 4?
We'll talk about that.
Ooh. But here's the thing. We knew all along where it was going because Doctor Strange movie is called The Multiverse of Madness. They could have called it anything else. Now it's a spoiler alert. We knew that we had to get to a multiverse of madness. So that was the only. And so this is 3 stars for me too, like the other 2. But this is actually the one I enjoyed the least of the 3 because I really felt like Tom Hiddleston really didn't have moments like Elizabeth Olsen had as Wanda, and even the Falcon had, what's his name?
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie had as a Falcon. Here, Loki just kind of was around and then it was over. So that's it for me. I'm 3 stars. Aim, what do you think?
I think Joel should go next because he has so much to say.
Oh, all right, Joel.
All right, and Mark, obviously, feel free to jump in if I'm
going to defer to you, Joel, because I don't want to spoil anything from. So go ahead. Go ahead.
You're going to let me spoil everything.
Yes.
Spoil away.
3 stars. I'm done. That's it.
Okay, that's it. Next.
I agree with you, Frank. It is 3 stars. There's a part of me that actually wants to go a bit lower, but I'm not going to because Loki didn't have a lot to do specifically. The show was more about the other Lokis and the other characters. And the only thing that gets it to 3 stars for me is the fact that the other characters are all intriguing. I mean, Richard E. Grant deserves an Emmy way more than
Don Cheadle.
You know.
No, but this is the thing too, that I felt like, okay, it's really cute that we have all these different Lokis, but again, they really didn't have much to do. So it might have been more fun, that episode especially,
right,
if we saw more of the individual Lokis.
Right, and we only got glimpses of all of them, and
isn't the badass Loki that shows up with the horns, that one seemed like that could have been a good miniseries.
Well, and
because he had a whole entourage and everything.
Well, here's the thing: is with Sylvie having, all right, He Who Remains. Let's start there.
Right.
Let's work our way backwards. He Who Remains is actually a thing in the comic books.
Right.
He is a future incarnation at the end of time of another character by the name of Kang the Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror.
Yes,
so that's the statue we're seeing?
That's the statue you see. In fact, that what he's wearing is very representative of what he looks like in the comic books at that point.
And he's black in the comic books?
He's purple and green. Yeah.
Oh, he's purple. Oh.
Yeah. But okay, so first things, you talked about spoilers with the next Doctor Strange movie is in the multiverse of madness, that being a spoiler that we had to get here. One of the other things that Marvel has been doing inconsistently is as they announce new people signing on to future movies, as actors in roles.
Right.
Sometimes they
So you're
announce
getting
the
more
role.
spoiler alerts.
Yeah, sometimes they announce the role and sometimes they don't. They did announce that Jonathan Majors was playing Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which doesn't come out until 2023.
Bastards.
So we know who Jonathan Majors is based on
Right.
that piece of information.
Kang the
It was
Conqueror.
what?
Kang
What was
the
that?
Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror. And the fact that they kept that a surprise of him showing up in Loki, which was brilliant, is nice, but now we know kind of where they're heading with things.
Right.
On top of that, Kang the Conqueror has other incarnations throughout the Marvel universe. He's
Doesn't everybody?
well, there's a key one here that may be a clue to where things are going in phase 4, because one of them is an Egyptian pharaoh named Ramatut, but the more interesting and important one is a man named Nathaniel Richards. Does that last name ring a bell to anybody but Mark? Nope. So the leader of the Fantastic Four is named Mr. Fantastic, and his
there we go.
real name is Reed Richards. Nathaniel Richards is his father. So an incarnation.
Well, I think we need to get you a nerd hat, so that when you go into these tirades, you put your little nerd hat on, and
That's what my
everybody understands.
My glasses are up here. That's
Oh,
my.
there you go.
Oh,
Joel,
actually,
I think Joel needs
Right.
like this huge
did I do that?
wall in back of him and have like all these arrows and stuff.
The red string.
The red strings.
You need a
So
whiteboard.
you can refer to that wall.
You need a
so that-
whiteboard.
Like
Oh,
the Iron
my
Man, moving things around.
That would be
Right.
great.
So,
All right, go on. So the Fantastic Four.
so supposedly, they have announced that they are doing a Fantastic Four movie, and it is currently, unless they change things, the last piece of Phase 4. So
Right.
there is that possibility that Jonathan Majors will show up again there. He may show up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We don't know.
So
but
are we done with the Avengers? And we're gonna move on to the
I think there's a few things going on. I think based on what we've seen in WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Black Widow, they're obviously setting up a second team of Avengers being run by
right,
Elaine
like,
Betts.
the
So-
next generation.
Right, Avengers Seinfeld edition or something.
The next
but-
generation.
And they are also building up to introducing us to the Fantastic Four and getting them right for
This
the
time.
first time. But
Fingers crossed.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Even with certain missteps here and there along the way, they've got a really good track record. I mean, even though Loki didn't need to be 6 hours long and they could have condensed it down immensely, I think it's still quality entertainment.
Or at the very least, make it more interesting.
Sure,
That it could
Well-
sustain 6 hours.
sure, but it didn't. But I wouldn't say I've seen it twice at this point. I watched it weekly, and then we watched it in 2 parts. And my wife and I haven't done the let's watch the whole thing in one shot yet. But it's certainly better than Thor: The Dark World. It's better than Incredible
Iron
Hulk.
Man 2.
Iron Man 2, yeah. So I mean, it's definitely got some repeatability. And for me, I loved the last episode. Jonathan Majors could have been reading from the phone book, and I would have
He was
been
great.
yeah,
Very good.
I would have been enamored of that performance. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with that character in future things and how he differentiates the different versions of Kang from each other. Assuming we
Not
get more.
to mention the Korean lady who all the things came. Oh wait, that's Lovecraft Country. Never mind.
Yes, that's the one part I saw of that for obvious reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot of nudity in that show.
And just going back to other shows that you referenced, maybe Lost took their smoke monster influence from the comic book version of Alioth, because
I wanted to ask you if
Yeah.
it was.
Oh yeah,
the
that
way actually
existed.
went.
comic book, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that would have existed before Lost for sure.
Yeah.
So
All right. Are you done?
um,
3 stars.
3 stars. Really liked a lot of the performances. The sum was not better than the parts, and I'll just
Yeah, I didn't really like Lady Loki. She's like, nah.
Okay.
All right, Aim? Or do you want to defer
Uh,
to somebody else?
Yeah, I really should, because I'm gonna be like, I just watched this yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that happening. I thought Jonathan Majors was so corny and over the top. I mean, I liked him, but I think it was just his dialogue. And I was reading a lot of fan reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of people did not like him because he was just so corny. I don't know. I didn't love him, but I like the character. I like the show more than you two. As I said, even last week, I'm going to give it 3.25 stars. I think because I gave Falcon and the Winter Snowman 3 stars.
Winter
I like
Snowman.
And I like this one better. So I have to give it 3.25. I really did like the last few episodes. I love the last one. And like I think Frank, you said, all the different Lokis were so well established and interesting. They could have, you could have condensed it and given them more and gotten rid of a lot of the other stuff, especially like you said in episode 4. I mean, I even like the alligator. I thought it was adorable.
Yes.
Love the alligator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a
really.
thing just yesterday. They said the sales of Baby Yoda are off, but now they have the
Yes.
alligator.
Yeah. So it was cute. I enjoyed it a lot more than you guys, like I said. And I was never a Loki fan to begin with. I'm team.
No, I'm
Thor.
not saying I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I had my nits to pick, as I always
You had a lot
do.
of nits, and it feels like both of you were like, yeah. And I find that like, oh, I liked it more. I liked it a lot.
I did say I'd watch it
Oh.
again, so you know,
Yeah.
Three stars to me is not meh.
yeah,
Hmm.
2.5. is-
I also I did
2.5
find,
would be meh.
I did find while watching it though, after each episode ended, I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch the next one. I was like,
Right.
all right, I have another one to watch. I have another one. So it's weird. I'm saying how much I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I don't know. What?
I said, and now
know
you're
it.
complaining about it.
Yeah, I loved it, but I hated it. No, I
Right.
really did like it though. I liked it a lot.
It's so funny to watch Amy actually watching TV shows.
I know. I
'Cause,
just load things up on my VCR.
the DVR
my
and never
DVR,
watch
and I
anything.
never watch
I
anything.
think I think we just, after we're done with the Star Wars thing, I think we just have to go through Amy's DVR for her. Get her to watch
Yes,
things that
whatever
she should be
has
watching.
on her.
Yes.
I mean,
what she
not
should
on
be
the
watching.
not on the DVR, but I loved Schitt's Creek, and I've only seen season 1. I love The Queen, The Crown. I've only seen seasons 1 and 2. Like, why don't I go back when I love them?
We have to
I
go
gotta watch-
back.
You gotta go back. I gotta watch my Real Housewives.
Yeah, of course. Gotta watch the 90 Day Fiance.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right, Anne, what about you?
Yeah, I like watching these kind of things, so I'm giving it 3.25. I definitely felt it was slow at times, and I guess they are kind of dragging it out a little bit because there is a season 2, and maybe they'll explain more in season 2. It was fun to watch. I like the character. I like Loki, so I enjoyed it. But there were a lot of parts where I was like, let's move it along a little bit, and other parts I'd like to know more about. Definitely,
Like the alligator.
Yes, like the alligator. And then when the kid Loki said, I killed my brother, like, what was that story? How did that happen? And so I felt like there was a lot of things that could have had more to do.
Well, there you go, season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah. Yeah, but when he said I killed my brother, I loved that.
Yes, agreed.
So nonchalant. I'd like to have killed my brother, but it didn't happen. Mark,
I'm kind
you're the
of
tiebreaker. We have
I'm
2
right in
three
between
and a
all of you.
quarters and
Girls
2 3
versus
stars.
boys. Girls
I'm
versus
with the
boys.
ladies. I'm going 3.25 stars. Although I would say that up until the first 3 episodes, it was definitely a 3-star. The only reason I'm giving it 3.25, the alligator, Jonathan Majors, the relationship between Mobius and Loki.
Yeah.
Episode
That was
5
fun.
was actually my favorite with Richard E. Grant and the kid and everyone else. It was, like you said, it was kind of silly. And Andy, you just said they could have explained more, but it was fun. That's all it was for me. It was a very fun episode. Episode 6, the finale, was also great. With I disagree with Amy, just on my personal basis. I liked his portrayal of He Who Remains.
I did
I thought
too.
he was very fun. And like Joel, I also know that he is Kang the Conqueror. So it was a very different take because I always felt that character Kang was really boring. And I was never, he's more of a Fantastic Four villain, I would say, right? Joel, do you agree?
I think he started as an Avengers villain and then eventually moved over in that
To
direction.
Fantastic
So,
Four,
yeah, and
which
it
I
was
always
boring.
found that was a little bit boring. So I felt he made it a different take on it. It was very fresh.
But you know,
What else?
Kang the Conqueror sounds like he should be Asian.
Sure.
Or a Klingon.
Or purple.
or purple.
I found the plot confusing and just weird, to be honest. But I really did appreciate the new characters. I like B-15, the main hunter.
Mhm.
I liked Sylvie. I liked what was his name? Casey, the desk clerk.
Yep.
All the silly characters that they added in, and all the different Lokis.
Wait,
I
didn't
just-
he get a promotion at the end, Casey?
He was a hunter.
He was 100, but it's not necessarily a promotion because Loki is now in a different universe. So that Casey could have been a hunter the whole time.
Wow.
Okay, right. And that's why Mobius doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, too confusing for me. Too confusing in general. And I know the comics, and to be that didn't help at all, to be honest, with this.
Mark's
whole
like, let's stay in our timeline.
seriously. What else? I was a little upset that they never revealed who Sylvie or He Who Remains were, but I understand that they're setting up for season 2. Sylvie, I won't give any spoilers on like I did last week, but there, just like He Who Remains, there is a name for the character. Again,
Sylvie? I thought she
Oh,
was
yeah.
Lady Loki.
Well, Sylvie, this particular incarnation of Sylvie is more of a combination of two characters from the comic books. One would be Lady Loki, and the other is a character that will remain nameless for now because Mark's not naming her, so I'm not going to name her. It won't mean anything to anybody at the end of the day, most likely, if they wind up calling her that, but it'll be kind
You
of
know
cool.
how
for the
quickly Amy will forget what we were saying right now?
yeah, totally. And she basically referenced herself by saying what she does to people 7 times already. So
Right.
if they give her the name, I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense.
So she's the Enchantress.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. What does that mean to you? Nothing.
Nothing.
But what's funny is after every episode, I found, I like to read a review. So the review gives you a good synopsis because they don't really do it in IMDb except for in movies. So I find Entertainment Weekly has a really good review and synopsis. And as early as either episode 3 or 4, they said that the fanboys were already, because this is going by, they only released one a week, so they didn't
Right.
know. So
Right.
they were already referencing both Kang and Sylvie as somebody else. And then when you reveal a Kang's castle, whatever you want to call it, the
He said it-
fanboys are like, I know whose castle that is from the comic books.
Right.
So that's so interesting how quickly people pick up on these things.
The Enchantress in the comic books has actually been 2 different characters. One we're probably never going to see at this point, and the other being Sylvie. So,
And regarding fanboys, I just want to say that what was funny after episode 5, which both Danielle and I really liked, I kept saying to Danielle, I was like, I guess there was really an alligator Loki in the comics because they wouldn't put him in otherwise. So of course she goes right on her phone and looks it up. And that alligator was created just for this TV series because he's green, just like Loki in the comics. That was the only reason was a writer said, why not throw in an alligator just to make him because he's green? So I
Well,
thought that
very
was,
cute.
Yeah,
very
he said
cute.
that. He's green anyway.
I
Yeah.
think it also comes out of the Frog Thor concept.
okay,
And
sure.
Did you guys notice that made a cameo?
Yes, I did.
Frog Thor was in the movie.
Yes.
Yep.
The little one
The little there's
in the jar.
in
The little
Yes.
when they're climbing down into the bowling alley in episode 5 and the camera's panning down
Yep.
and you see Mjolnir there. There's a little
Yeah.
jar with a thing bouncing around. That's Frog Thor.
That's
Oh
Thor.
my God.
I never
Brilliant.
would have known that.
Never would have known, but you guys love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that again is brilliant for Marvel and doing one a week and keeping those geeks guessing and all the websites are populated with all these people who are conjecturing what's going to happen next and then discussing. So it's brilliant marketing, really.
Yeah, no, it
Because-
is.
But
And the way the whole thing, and I know I've said this before, we started with the very first Iron Man, and then the audience kept building because people started watching them on demand, on DVD, watching it on HBO, wherever they were watching them, and then people started coming along, and even I watched some of them because I'm like, oh God, this is going crazy. I'm gonna watch. But you just being a casual observer, you don't get the full picture. You just don't.
No.
And having now watched it all, we're even missing stuff.
But a lot of the stuff is from the comic books.
Yeah, and it's little stuff it's
Yeah,
nice.
but all these Easter eggs and references, like I said, some episodes are just built around. It's that's the kinds of things that keep fueling this phenomenon. It really does. All right, so are we done? Any
Oh,
last?
Andy
I
got
just wanna
very
add one-
excited to say something there.
I was just gonna say, how are they allowing this like 6-8 week span of nothing? That we have nothing, no Marvel to
Nothing to discuss.
What are we gonna do?
Oh no!
Well, it's not really that big. How we handle it is one thing. How they're handling it is another. Don't forget they have What If dropping on Disney Plus on August 10th. So
Oh, yeah.
for them
Okay.
it's
Oh,
only
right.
like
So it's only 2 weeks in between.
And we'll be watching that, right?
yeah. Well, but
Yeah,
not
and since we're gonna just review it in one chunk, it's gonna be 10 hours. So you might want to start watching it. before-
I totally will. I just wanted to end
Just
with
like me
saying
and
that
Planet Earth.
out of the three Planet Earth, out of the three TV series so far, I actually think that Falcon and the Snowman was while maybe the least spectacular, was the most consistent, and I actually like that one the best.
Yeah, for me, the best for me was definitely Wanda. Yeah,
Me too.
I like
though
Wanda the best.
I was complaining about it
Yeah.
as much.
Wanda was just lighter and easier, and Falcon and the Snowman was just so Marvel Comics. I think that was my.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, and again, we discussed it. It just felt like it could have been shorter, and
Way
that would
too
have made it better for me. That would have made it better.
I
All
know it
right,
became a
so-
little preachy.
and I like them equally. So WandaVision and Falcon and whoever. So.
Okay, Sophie's choice. You can only watch one.
No.
Falcon
And I'm
and
watching the
Winter Soldier.
shortest one.
Joe, you can only watch
Falcon-
one.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm a Captain America fan. That's how I have to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, so I don't know that there was an end credit sequence necessarily, was there?
No, it's just the
But
announcement
it
of the
did
second
say
season.
that there will be season 2.
Yeah.
And of course, that brings up all kinds of questions of what they're going to address in the series as opposed to the movies. Because
Well,
Joel, I
I-
know you were very upset about the whole. There was a little tirade on Facebook about you were pissed off at Kevin Feige yogurt.
Right. Well, because he has been. I'm not pissed at him per se because I don't give a shit. I'm watching all of it anyway.
Right.
But he had stated that you're not
You
going
didn't
have
to watch the TV shows.
the TV shows to get what's going on in the movies. And I'm
But he meant Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. Well, that's obvious. I mean, but even like the rumors that are flying around now about who's going to be appearing in upcoming things from the Netflix shows is just kind of like, what, all right, great. I'm glad.
Right. They
some
had
of them are
all the
coming back.
January Jones and all of that. All
January
right.
Jones and Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio
D'Onofrio.
are supposed to be making appearances maybe in the
Right.
next Spider-Man movie.
Well, it's great that they have all this to pull from.
it is.
All right, so
So-
next week we begin the Star Wars saga. We are starting with Rogue One because I am a rogue. I think it perfectly sets up the whole original trilogy.
Having not seen it, I don't know why, so I'm curious to know.
You
Well,
never
it
seen
takes place right
Not Rogue
before.
One.
It's
It
very
takes
good.
place right before
A New Hope.
episode 4.
It's a great movie. I love the movie. I personally don't like watching it before, but that's my own thing. So
Just one quick thing for Amy before you go in, because when I first saw Rogue One, I was a little disappointed for 2 reasons. As a huge Star Wars fan, number one, it didn't open with the scroll, and number two, it didn't have the music. And so to me, it was like, this isn't a Star Wars movie, and it's because it's not. It's a Star Wars
Wars
story.
story.
It's not in
The canon
the original story. So
and the canon.
upon
it's
rewatching, I enjoyed it a lot more. It's a great movie. Just
All
don't
right,
consider it.
Amy, you have
Star
to watch
Wars.
it twice before next Sunday.
That's it.
Okay.
Watch it tonight and then next week.
Okay.
All right, thank
Wait,
you.
I have like a lot of 90 Day Fiance to watch tonight.
Get rid of that
There we go.
garbage.
I'm Frank Gaffney, and see you next week.